Hi, welcome to valuationpodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things related to business and valuation. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide divorce valuation and mediation services in St. Louis, Missouri. Today, we will discuss active and passive appreciation of separate property in divorce with the esteemed Dr. Ashok Abbott, who is an associate professor of finance at West Virginia University. He is the founder of Business Valuation, Inc., where he provides value by determining statistical significance, validating economic models, and providing rigorous empirical analytical support. So basically, just a super expert at research and all things valuation. Once we've identified that we have to do some analysis, right? We've at least we've said that there's some analysis to do. Now you have come in and wrote a research paper that's titled Passive Appreciation in Divorce, a Quantitative Measure. And people can access this and we'll provide links. But tell us more about this research because it's very important for valuation experts on the how do we quantify, right?
Right. See, that is where really empirical research is needed and is applicable. And I've been doing this now since I think the first major case that I did in this area was in 2005. Okay. So this has been going on for about 15 years specifically. The techniques have been known for a while. There's a major paper that Engel and Granger, they did that, and they got the Nobel Prize for that. Because that was the first time that they developed an empirical test for causation. So that's the important part. Mm-hmm. Before 1995 or so, we had all this concept of active and passive. Everyone talked about it, but no one had the causation set as an empirical test. The important thing is because ultimately what the statute has laid out is that what is caused by the market forces, and that causation has to be established before we can start measuring as to what proportion is there attributable to that particular cause. So that is what this paper is about.
Well, and I think that you said it also before this, but part of it is how do you go in and you try to quantify the passive factors. And so how do you determine what effect these passive factors have on the business valuation?
Right. So it's a two-step test.
Okay.
First, you have to determine that in fact there is causation, that it does make a difference. See, for example, consumer sentiment is something that's talked about a lot in marketing, saying it drives the market. Sentiment is high, so people are buying. Or sentiments are going down. So, for example, in real estate markets, you hear that the word mentioned a lot. Okay, people are buying because they're looking at some expansion, or people have stopped buying because they're afraid. Okay. But interestingly, when you start looking at it empirically, even though by itself the sentiment does appear to be a factor and has been well accepted in marketing as something that drives the markets, but the way the sentiment is measured is essentially as an index based on employment level and income level. So the concept being when people are employed full-time, they are making good money, they're ready to buy things. So if we have income, if we have employment, and then we add on sentiment, that sentiment by itself, that index may not be adding much value. So that is why it's not a question of in isolation is this particular factor important or not. But the ultimate question is, in combination, what factors stand out, influence the outcome, or what factors are in fact manifestations of other factors that we could be looking at. So that is the empirical testing that one has to go through to establish what are the factors and what are the independent factors that are driving whether it's a revenue, whether it's free cash flows, whether it's discretionary earnings. Important thing is that you need to establish the attribution to the cash flow that you are using for valuation. That is why valuation and the passive appreciation analysis, they have to go in tandem.
Well, and I think that it's not just about looking at some economic reports. Like your research paper really goes into more detailed ways of how to support your conclusion, as opposed to saying, I think that it's going to be this, because a lot of times the business owner always thinks that they are the business and that they are the whole worth of the business, but that's not always true.
Right. See, if they are the business, then it's all active appreciation, and they should really be writing that $5 billion check.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what ultimately the case was Ham versus Ham.
Gotcha.
So it's a very interesting case. It's a very well-developed case. It was obviously because the stakes were so high. Sure. The quality of analysis done in that was really good. That's something that one should really read as a base text in looking at active and passive issue.
And there are some states that really don't outline it as much. There hasn't been a lot of case law in it. So sometimes it seems a little like the Wild West. I know that we've seen cases where if there was appreciation in the value of the business, it's also, has that business owner been fairly compensated for that? So that's like important. Lean years, what if they stop paying themselves? Things like that.
See, that is where the whole issue of, when you start doing lifestyle analysis, when you start doing income analysis, and when you start doing basically what is entering the marital estate.